What's up, everybody? Hey, welcome to episode 10 of Daily Drink Ministries, 14-part series titled Marriage and Family. Glad y'all can join me today. We got a good one here. So, hey, be sure and like, share, comment, get the word around, spread the message. If you got any questions on these, be sure and comment on them and let me know what you think, all right? Just head over to our YouTube channel, Daily Drink Ministry. Subscribe to that so you get notifications as well. So, let's get started. Today's message is titled Arrows. One word, arrows. Now you might be thinking, what does arrows have to do with marriage and family? Really easy. Turn with me to Psalms 127, verses 4 and 5. You ready? Psalms 127, verse 4 says this. It says, "Children born to a young man are like arrows in a warrior's hands." And verse 5, it says, "How joyful is the man whose quiver is full of them." Stop and think about that message for a minute. Children are like arrows in a warrior's hands. So today, I want to break this down a little bit. 3 parts. We're going to try and do it quick, but I could go on. I tend to do that. 3 parts. Think about this. In the time that this was written, an archer couldn't just go to the store and buy arrows, ready-made arrows. He had to make them himself. So in order to have an arrow, he had to find a straight stick. He had to sand that stick down. He had to take all the little knots and stuff off that stick, and he had to make it smooth, right? As parents, are we doing that to our children? Are we sanding down the knots that gets hung on things? Are we smoothing out the surface so they can fly through life? Or are we leaving them rough and jagged and jaded so that they catch on everything and they get hung up on a lot of stuff? Think about that. If you look at your children as arrows in your quiver, you want to take care of them. You want to smooth them out. You want them to fly straight, not crooked. That's the first one. The second one is the draw. We've got our arrow, we've got our bow. Now we're going to draw, right? Draw and aim. Now this might seem easy, right? Pull it back, aim, we're good to go. But in the reality is, this requires the most patience and steadiness, okay? So stop and think about what we've been talking about in the last 9 lessons. Are you applying them to your family? I mean, let's look at some of these. Very first one. Empathy and communication. Are you applying that with your kids? What about focusing on their relationship? Praying during conflict. This is one I just worked on this weekend. Character of commitment. There's a good one. Words of affirmation. Embracing forgiveness. Eliminating fear. What about the aiming? How about show children God's vision? Those all apply to our children and building them up and aiming them through God, for God. So the draw and aim, are you applying these things to your life, to your family, so that they can fly straight? Ask yourself that. And number 3, the third one is this. The release is quick. When you release the arrow, it's quick. But it can be one of the most painful parts of the whole process. Anybody who shot a bow and arrow knows that when you release it, that string has a way of popping you in the arm. And it can do it if you're not holding that bow just right. It can pop you in that arm. Ooh, does it hurt? When we release our arrows as our children, when we release them, there's a little bit of pain that goes along with it. I haven't got there yet. My children are still in my home. They're still in my quiver, if you will. But I'm not looking forward to the day that I release them. Why? Because from the time I release them, they're on their own. They're on their own. I made this note in my notes today. I made this note. Everything you've done up to this point plays a role in how that arrow flies. everything you've done. However, there are unforeseen factors that can change its trajectory at any moment. So here's the thing. Look back on what we've talked about already. If I didn't sand that arrow down smooth, if I didn't get rid of all the knots, then a simple crosswind could catch that rough edge, can catch that knot and blow that arrow off course. If I didn't hewn the point just right, if I didn't smooth the feathers just right, then any crosswind, any change in air density can make that arrow drop or rise, can twist it, can turn it. The same thing goes with our kids. Now, we're human. We're not going to get everything just right. But there's mistakes in manufactured arrows as well. They don't always fly true, but we can get them as close to true as possible. And that's our job as parents, is to shape these arrows and mend them and direct them and aim them in God's vision towards God's target for them. Not our target, God's target. That's a key focus, is to make sure we're aiming them at God's target, not our target for us. Okay? That's key. I can't talk about children and aiming and directing and all this without bringing up a key verse, though. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are older, they shall not depart from it. I've always thought that verse meant I had to stay on the path. But you know what? It doesn't say anything about the middle. It says when they're older, they won't depart from it. If you notice, an arrow doesn't fly straight at its target. An arrow arches and drops in. Our children might seem to get off course, but if we've trained them up right and we've done our job, they'll land on target. They'll land where they're supposed to, because God's directing them once we let them go, not us. So that's my daily drink for today. How are the arrows in your quiver? How are you maintaining them? How are you directing them? And are you ready to release them towards God's target for them? Y'all be blessed. We'll see you tomorrow.